I just finished my first playthrough of Heroes of a Broken Land, and while it's fresh in my mind, I wanted to get my thoughts organized on exactly how I felt about this unique title. It's hard to classify exactly what genre this game belongs to. It's one part 90s strategy game, and one very large part 90s dungeon crawler. It appears to be the only game developed and published by Winged Pixel, and is available on their website for Windows, Mac, and Linux. While I wasn't able to find it on GOG or Discord, it is available on Steam for $14.99 as of October 2018, in case anyone wants to go that route. Winged Pixel describes themselves as makers of procedural RPGs, and while that is definitely true, I think I would further describe this game as an infinite dungeon crawler without any roguelike elements. When starting the game, you are presented with a large amount of customization options. The world can be anywhere from tiny to absolutely enormous, and you are able to tweak nearly every aspect of the difficulty to meet your needs. In addition to the individual tweaks like changing XP gains and monster density, you can even turn off the fixed random flag, which is more commonly known as a save scumming flag. Before you start your game, you are asked to choose one of 6 wizards that are used as additional world modifiers for your playthrough. You can choose to have a bonus to XP gains, starting MP, starting attack, magic find, starting HP, or starting defense. I went with the increased magic find in my playthrough, but were I to do it again, I would probably go with the increased XP gains to cut off some of the grind. The story is about as bare bones as it gets. The world has been corrupted and scattered across the void. It is your job to travel to a shard of the world and find and destroy the corrupted crystal within. Rinse and repeat as many times as you want. The first 4 characters you are given are your standard RPG trope. You get a fighter, a rogue, a mage, and a priest. Each of these 4 starter classes can further be upgraded to more advanced classes as you progress through the game. You're also given a limited number of rerolls when you're starting out, but I find that the starting stats to be largely irrelevant. After a couple levels, you pretty much outstrip the initial stat bonuses, and then you can always simply buy attributes in the Adventurers Guild. When you enter the world proper, you are given a very quick tutorial that shows you how to add buildings to your town. They insist you build an alchemist guild, or alchemist hut first because it's a guaranteed source of mana potions, and then how to enter the town heart, which is where you'll be doing all your recruiting. Different types of towns offer different recruitable characters, so it's worth your effort to gain their favor later on in the game. Back in the world map, you have your basic hexagonal grid that you'll need to explore thoroughly. Your movement points are shown over the party portrait in the bottom left, and they are refreshed each turn. Your earliest source of income will simply be exploring the world to find crystals and treasure chests laying around. Crystals are used for building upgrades, whereas gold is used for pretty much everything else. Like mages, you can never have enough gold. You'll get a very small per turn gold income, but don't rely on it to keep you going. I just basically use the first couple turns to build up enough to start a second party and use that one party to go treasure hunting. Since you have to initiate all combat yourself, you can just create a whole bunch of these one-person parties to fully reveal the map for you. Once you find your first level relevant dungeon, it's time to head inside. Once there, it should start looking familiar to anyone who has played 90s first-person dungeon crawlers. It has everything you would expect: trap tiles, level puzzles, and hidden buttons. But they are all on a basic level. If you're looking for some of the more complicated puzzles from, say, Eye of the Beholder, you're not going to find them here. Every dungeon is procedurally generated, and they all have one goal because of it: kill all the monsters and leave. And then, if you want, seal the dungeon behind you so no more can spawn. What Heroes does do, however, is eschew the standard front-back party member setup of similar games and then replaces it with a left-right party limitation. When fighting more than one enemy, you'll only be able to attack the enemy on the same side as the active character. This really limits the effectiveness of fighter classes as the game goes on because they all tend to be single-target characters, barring one. And as the game progresses, the number of enemies you find who are extremely resistant to melee damage, if not outright immune, become problematic. Of course, you could say the same thing about single-target magic spells, but honestly, once you unlock the mage classes that regen mana, there's nothing stopping you from using the expensive multi-target spells in every battle. The game loop just expands in scope as the game progresses. You'll eventually need to field at least 4 battle-hardened parties to tackle a number of the later dungeons. While I enjoyed my time in the game, I found a small problem with the scope of available options that didn't have a place. A good example can be found in the magic system. Each class of magic has a number of spells you can purchase, but I never found myself using more than 2. A go-to spell that did heavy damage and applied damage over time, and the same spell from a different element in the chance the enemy was immune to the first. The character classes were much the same. Melee became largely useless near the end of the game, as did any magic classes without inherent mana. and of the melee classes, only one offered a consistent multi-party attack, and I never found a reason to use any other melee class. And again, that's really my only criticism of the game. I enjoyed my time playing it, but I think I made the mistake of making the world too large, and that's entirely on me. By the time I was ready for the final 4-party dungeon, I was done with the game. It's a lot like turning on marathon mode for your first playthrough of Fire XCOM. While it can be a fun ride, it's probably not your best choice until you understand the mechanics better. Now, if you're looking for that sort of single-player endless dungeon crawl where you can just sit back, relax, listen to an audiobook in the background, well, brew up some coffee, fire up an enormous world, and I'll probably be seeing you in a couple years.